Hello, my name is Nancy Young, and welcome to another episode of Your Voice Matters with Nancy Young, a program highlighting the positive voices within our local community and how they're impacting and uplifting our world one person at a time. Now, before we get started, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe buttons. Today, we'll be highlighting your voice through that of book publishing and also writing books. My guest today is from Tracy, California. His name is James Benjamin Young Sr. He is the CEO of 2020 Vision Books and Designs, as well as an author himself. At this time, help me welcome Mr. James Young. So thank you, James, for joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so we want to talk today about book publishing. Your voice matters, how it matters through that of book writing as well as book publishing. So the name of your company is 2020 Vision Books and Design. So how did you actually get started in book publishing?
Well, it's been quite a long story, but I know you want the short version. I was prophesied on by Herschel Walker's father, who back in Detroit, and I was asked by a friend who was pastoring in Southwest Detroit, and he asked me to come play organ because he didn't have a musician during that time, and so I did. And when I was there, he introduced the prophet. He called himself a prophet, Walker, and he kept looking at me in the organ, and he said, "Young man, come here." So he called me off the organ, called me over, and he looked at me and said, "You're going to write books." And I said, yes. I was skeptical of prophets because we were been taught in our church that there were no such thing as prophets in our day. And plus this guy, he was dressed, he had on a blue pinstripe suit. He had bling bling, just like a rapper. He had, gold chain rings all of his fingers. He was just like I would call it, if anything, I would call him a jackleg prophet. But he told me I was going to write books. And I said, yeah, okay, that's pretty much, I had done some stuff already. I had a newsletter that went out, and I was doing little write-ins and things and that. Then he looked at me a little bit more and he said, wait, you're going to have other people publish their books. You're going to be publishing books for other people. And at that point, I said, yeah, this guy's a jack. He's going a little bit farther. He's a jackleg prophet. And well, bringing it up to now, after I came to California, I was already into graphic arts and designs. Had a buddy there, had a print shop together, and we were doing, we would do graphics and designs for people and so forth. And when I came out here to pastor, but I end up having to work in the field of graphics and designs also to make ends meet. So a friend of mine who had passed, who would later start going to his church, he had written this little book and somebody typed it out for him. It was in all caps, and it was entitled "The Seven Hebrew Words for Praise." And the book was terrible, black and white book, and no end of sentences. Sentences ran into each other, no paragraphs, no chapters or anything. So I took the book and I told him I would bring it back. He said he knew exactly what I was going to do with it at that time. So I went ahead and I took the book, and when I took it back to him, I presented it to him, and it was in the book. It was had a white, yellow, and cover titled "The Seven Hebrew Words for Praise," and that little book, it took off. He ordered 100, he ordered a couple hundred more, and a couple hundred more. He kept ordering more and more. And that little book went around the world. I think that was probably the first publication that I'd ever done. And later on, we started His Image Publishing. And from that point on, we just started helping people publish their books.
Okay, and so what year was that you published that first book, Seven Hebrew Words for Praise?
Have to be at least 30 years ago.
Okay, I remember I was at a conference and back in 1989, and you were set up at a table and you had that book, and you were not attending his church at the time, but I was, and Bishop Robert David Young. And you asked me, well, did I have the book already? I said, well, no, I don't have a copy. It's like, how could you go to your pastor church and you don't even have a copy of his book? So you just
I remember that.
influenced me to convince me to buy that book. And so it was a very good book of praise and worship, which people start singing about it and everything all around our country here, at least.
He wrote his song from it.
Okay.
Got a hold to it. She wrote her book from it, and it just took off. It just went around the world.
So that was your start. That was the first book that you did too. You were inspired really to make it better than what it was, to publish it into a readable, marketable product. So then
artist.
And you've been doing this since at least back in the 80s, the 1980s.
Right. Yeah.
And so today, now there are many people that want to write a book. And so they may have a passion to write something. What are the different reasons why people even want to write books from your experience?
Well, I think everyone have a story to tell. And some people have eventful lives. And I think they should tell their story, and I think they should tell the events in their lives. And as well, you know about many of the people that we publish for. Some have they've had some really rough lives, and they wrote about it. And I think everybody should tell their story. And as a result, they can pass it on to their children and to their children. Everybody's not going to become rich from writing, but at least they can pass their legacy on. We have the Bible, and that came from people writing. They're writing their story, writing what they saw, writing what they were told. And the same thing is going on right now today. And I'm just thankful that God gave me, let me be a part of it. We've helped so many people get their story told, write their life stories, some biographies. Some people have inspiration to write on different things. We've helped pastors and bishops alike and apostles do their dissertations and do all quite a bit. And so
I think it's a fallacy that some people feel like if they write a book, they have to be this big multimillionaire from the book itself, because there are some people that are picked up by big companies, big publishing companies, and they send thousands or millions all over the country, but they have that niche. But there are people that
percentage is so low. That percentage of those people that hit the big times, that percentage is so low. I would say probably 98% of the people don't hit the big times.
So it's kind of like I'm thinking about even like maybe an NBA star or NFL star, different ones. They want to be that, but if they can't be that, they can still play at their local school. They can still be the star of their school. They can still, perform in that particular arena. So the same thing with books. You may not be that person that has this multi-level, book that's marketed all over the world, but as you said, legacy. So as some people have passed on, they've taken that information with them. And so even for me now, being much older, my father died over 30 years ago. And I have so many questions I would like to know, but I can't ask him because he's gone. And he didn't leave anything behind for us to know, just bits and pieces of things that we can put together. So it's good if people want to document those kind of things. And now at this time, many people have been on lockdown under COVID-19. We're not going to get into COVID-19 itself, but really under this time, people are really, reevaluating their lives, trying to see what they want to do going forward with their business, with their lives. And, different people, they feel like I have a story to tell, but I have no clue as to how do I start to do that. So what would you recommend? How would you walk through someone?
We have a publishing guide. If they would like to get a hold to our publishing guide, there's so much information on the web right now. You can just ask Google to tell you everything that you need to know. I'm a fan of asking Google for information that I don't know. Google how to spell a word, or where a scripture is. The Bible, Google know the Bible better than I do. But it's not hard. We have a publishing guide. We tell you how to get started, and some people don't know how to write, don't even have a clue. Well, we tell them that they should get a recorder. Matter your phone now, smartphones. All your phones have a recorder on it. Just tell your story. Just pick up your cell phone, find the app where you can record, and just press record and start telling your story. And I tell people sometimes you should tell it to somebody else, because usually you are inspired more to tell your story when someone is listening to you, and they can ask questions, well, what happened here and what happened there, and you would tell that story and just record it. And we have people that was transcribe that into to word format, type it out for you, and the next thing you know, I mean, there are even programs now, if you are pretty articulate as you talk, those programs would type the words out for you, and all you have to do is go back and edit it. I mean, everybody have smartphones now. We have smart computers, so it's not hard. And I tell people, you have no excuse. I was talking to a friend of mine, Stanley Kurt Burrell, everybody knows as MC Hammer. I said, this is the time right now, man, for you to go ahead and tell your story. Talking about someone who has a story to tell. Stanley Kurt Burrell has a story to tell. I mean, God have brought him through a lot. He's gone through quite a bit. And I told him he needs to just go ahead and get it out there, get his story out there. And I encourage people. I encourage people to get their story out there. I think his wife wrote a book on inspiration. She said she had no clue, didn't want to write a book, had no idea, but she was doing a devotional, and she was doing these things, and she just put it together, just reflection. And next thing you know, she have a book, and she's been called to come speak here and speak there. And so I think it's very important that everybody get their story out there. Like you said, your father he didn't write anything, and you didn't get a chance to ask him all these questions concerning life. And if he had to put it in a book, he would be able to pass it on. And I think that's a fault with many families. We need to know who our grandfathers, our great grandfathers, and just how their lives come about, and pass it on to their children, and your grandchildren, and pass it on to the next generation. And as you said, I've written a number of books, and I'm in the process now of writing an autobiography. It's a semi-autobiography. It's going to be told in probably more than one part. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and edit and get this part edited and get it published within the next couple of months. It's entitled Me, Myself, and I. But it tells about my life story, and I have an interest in life story, believe it or not. I'm not that dull and boring. I mean, I've gone through quite a bit. Born and raised in Mississippi, Vance, Mississippi, and I've made quite a few achievements and so forth. But I'll let you ask the questions.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and transition into how has publishing inspired you to begin to tell your own story, to write your own book. So this is a book that you're writing now that's upcoming, Me, Myself, and I. And so tell us about that book.
Well, as you know, I'm a pastor. I've been pastoring for a while. Before then, I became a minister, and I was on the evangelism field for quite a while. And everywhere I go, if I'd had books then, I would have been I thought about it because I would see other people with books. And so when I started doing little pamphlets and stuff, and basically I gave it away. Now, when I go speak, I take my books with me, and people, they line up to buy those books, and most of the time I sell out. The story, Me, Myself, and I, is basically about me, because I'm a dreamer. Not just a dreamer, but literally a dreamer. God deals with me in dreams and vision, have all my life, ever since I was a kid. This one lady said that I had to, she came and looked at me, came over to the house, because I used to have dreams all the time, every night. Tell my mother about my dreams. They were scary dreams. They were prophetic dreams. They were dreams about, just things that had happened already, and things that were going to happen. And believe me, when I had those dreams, those things happened. They came to pass. So this lady came by the house one day and said, Cammy, where's that boy that having all those dreams? So my mother called me. I came out. She said, boy, look me in my eyes. So I looked in her eyes, and she said, yeah, Cammy, he got the gift. Well, I'm writing my story because I wasn't supposed to live. I remember going to the doctor with my mom and dad, And the doctor told them, I overheard him say, Walter Cammy, I don't know why this little kid is still alive, because uh, whatever is keeping him alive. I would be so sick. I was so skinny. And matter of fact, this is how skinny I am. If you see me now, you couldn't believe that I was that skinny. But in 10th grade in high school, I only weighed 86 pounds. That's how tiny I was. I was a very skinny little kid. And coming up, I used to be so sick, I wanted to die. And I didn't even know what death was, but the pain was so great that I just didn't want to live. But God had me to live for a reason. These dreams become to get more intense. And also I could see things in the spirit. I would see demons. I would see angels, and my brother Johnny would, always say, look at my crazy brother. We need to take him to the, get some money for him because he's lost it. But I did. I would see angels. Nobody else can see them, but I could see them. I would see demons, and they scared me to death. I grew up being just a really scared kid, scared of everything, because I could see in the spiritual realm. I know now that there's a spiritual realm, and I could see these creatures. And later on, as I grew up and the Lord saved me, I began to, these things tormented me. And the Lord blessed me to be able to find out how to get delivered from these demons. And before you knew it, I was sitting in classes. I followed Derek Prince, I followed Don Basham, Ron Milton, Eric Kruger. These guys were skilled in casting out demons. And as I read the Bible, I saw that, hey, these are demons in the Bible. There are things that's going on. People had gifts in the Bible. They had gifts to prophesy. They had gifts to be able to see. And I said, I'm not that weird. That were biblical people that had these same kinds of gifts. So in the book, I talk a little bit about that. I talk about coming up, one to die. I talk about near-death experiences. I talk about having a will to live, and how I got into casting out demons and praying for folks and seeing the miracle working power of God. People getting healed of all kinds of sicknesses and diseases. People getting healed of cancer. People getting healed of AIDS. A lady raised from the dead. And there are so many miracles. So I'm a believer. So I write about this, and also as I write, it's not just a story, a good story, but also give some things that the Lord have shown me concerning faith, how to increase my faith, how to believe, and how to rely on the Lord, how to trust in Him, because life is something else. Life is really something else, and that we are in a warfare. We're in a spiritual warfare. And so in the book, I put all of this in, me, myself, and I. And, I've written a number of other books also. So let me turn it back over to you, because I get pretty long. When you prime my pump, I'll start going, and water just start flowing.
Okay, so yeah, book needs to be out as a reference, as a resource for those who need encouragement to know that maybe they can see into spiritual realm and they don't know what's going on. And so, or maybe they need to see or read to know that there are miracles still happening in this century, in this decade, in this time. And so also, I know one of your most popular books is The Power of Forgiveness. So I'm not sure, when did this book come out? It came out a number of years ago. But you talk about power of forgiveness. So every writer usually has an inspiration to why they write every book. Because I myself, of course, as you know, have written several books, and there's an inspiration for each one. So tell me about what inspired you to write The Power of Forgiveness.
Well, the inspiration to write that book, I began to do a study. I'm a very avid reader. Read everything I got my hands on. I read the Bible. I was reading daily 50, 60, up to 70 chapters out of the Bible per day. I wasn't trying to read the Bible through one or twice a year, but I read it through twice a year. Read the Bible through twice a year, and I kept reading and writing everything reading everything I got a hold to. I just wanted to know. I was hungry. I wanted to know about salvation. I wanted to know about the miracles in the Bible. I wanted to know more about Jesus. I wanted to know more about heaven. I wanted to know how to avoid hell. And even though there's hell here on earth, there are some things that we just have to contend with. Well, the book Power of Forgiveness, I had some devastating things happening in my life, and there are people I had to forgive, and you know, I saw that I wasn't going to make it in if I didn't forgive. I was a very vindictive person. You might have heard my story about being vindictive. Somebody did something to me, I had to get them back. I was the type of person, I would have a little book. I would write down your name, the date that you did it, what you did, and plot ways of how I was going to get you back. And it was interesting that you didn't have to know that I got you back. All I had to do is know that you failed because I set something up to trip you. You did what you did because I said, you know, I set this up, and you didn't have to know. But I was satisfied. But the thing about it, that thing tormented me, you know, having that kind of weight, because I would go back and review my notes and want to know, how can I get this person? What can I do that will satisfy me? And that was tormenting. So I had to learn how to forgive. And so I went in to read the Word of God to find out how to forgive people, because, I mean, quite a few people hurt me, hurt by quite a few people. A lot of stuff going on. Some people that was close to me, best friends. I just couldn't believe that you would do somebody like that, you know, but I had to learn how to forgive. So I said, man, if it's this difficult for me, and so let me put these scriptures together and put it into a pamphlet so other people, so I could pass it on. That's how that book come about. And I think that's the biggest seller we've had, our publishing company, has been How to Recognize False Prophets. There are a number of Bible colleges that carry that little booklet, and we're in the process of redoing it now, and a little bit more to it, and making it into a hardback. But there are some Christian universities that say that that book is a requirement. The power of forgiveness is a requirement before you graduate from their school. And so it have helped quite a few people. People used it, and they've learned how to let go, because the Bible does tell us that we can be free. He said, we shall know the truth, Jesus said, and the truth would make us free. So when you know the truth, and I've gotten as many scriptures as I can from the Bible to put that truth in there. So when you read it and understand it, comprehend it, be able to put it into practice, it sets you free. Amen. So that's how that book come about.
Okay, and I see that. Yeah, it was published originally back in 1999, so about 21 years ago that it's been here and available for people to read. And so I know one of the quotes in here says, "Forgiving is more than just forgetting." And so and he talked about receiving forgiveness and actually giving forgiveness. And I think it's an important thing for people to be able to do that and to understand the importance of forgiveness. I think sometimes right now people have way too much time on their hands, and then they can reminisce and think about all the things that people have done to them. But if they utilize this time positively and self-evaluation, to be able to let it go, because it's more than just you being in a prison. I think one of the examples you give in the book has to do with being like a warden in prison, because you lock somebody up in prison, but to keep them in that prison, you have to be there to watch them. So you're in prison as well. Instead of just being able to be free, set them free, and you can be free as well. So those are a few of the books that you've written. And so, do you have any favorite books that you've actually published of any other people, maybe besides Seven Favorite What Words? Mm-hmm.
Books that I published for other people or my own?
Yes, for other people.
Oh yeah, I've published Bishop Bob Jackson out of Oakland. We published Bishop Robert Young. We've done stuff for Bishop Donnie McGriff, Apostle Henry Alexander. Done a number of books for him. When I was counting the number of people that we've helped to get, there's been over 350 people that we've actually worked with. There are some people that have gone, professors, doctors, school teachers, principals, entertainers. We've helped them get their books done. And there are about 12 books that we're working on right now for people, individual. And some of them are some real good books. Some of the books are going to go a long ways. I think that everybody should tell their story. And there's some people that receive a gift and they they want to share it with others. Sometimes it doesn't get a chance to go further. I think, I think about this often. Elisha, one of the most gifted prophets in the Bible, had no one to pass his anointing on to. He went to his grave with that double portion that he received from Elijah. And I think what people have, they've learned, they've received, they need to be able to pass it on. They need to be able to structure it in a way that they can give it to somebody else. And and the best way to do it is put it in a book. Put it in a book. Now we have audio books, we have Kindles, we have all kinds of books. We got the smart books. I go to sleep many times just listening at the Bible being read to me from my smartphone. And I just said, hey, read the Bible to me. And start at Genesis or any particular chapter that I want, and I fall asleep listening to the Bible being read to me. Or either have my own book that I read over again, and find out that there's more that I can add and so forth. So, hey, I think everybody have a book in it, and you yourself, you've published a number of books. Uh, uh,
Yeah, so are those your favorites? No, I'm just kidding. I was asking about your favorite books, but I know you published for many people, so it's kind of hard to name
yeah.
some.
Well,
But I
one
mean,
book that I published for Bishop Robert David Young was entitled "Escape from Babylon." I published that book for him in 92. I published it in 92, and it was entitled "Escape from Babylon." When 9/11 took place, he called me up. He said, "Do you have a copy of your book that you?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Go get that book and look at it." And I went and got a book, and I looked at the cover of it. And on the cover of the book, 9/11 was being blown up. It was on fire. People running for their lives. I drew people, and everybody was running for their life. He said, "Man, you are a prophet in art." I designed that book. I had no idea that this was ever going to happen. But after reading the story, I usually try to design a book cover that matched the story. But after reading his book concerning what was going on in New York and in the city, and how that even in our country, how the immorality is just and constantly increasing, and he labeled this book "Escape from Babylon." And so I said, what better thing is to put New York on it, the Big Apple, and the main view was the two trading towers. I had no idea that the towers were going to be blown up and come down, and people would be running for their lives and so forth. But yeah, that was interesting.
okay. So what about your books that you've written? Do you have a favorite book that you've written?
Oh, well, I wouldn't say this is my favorite book, but this is one of the books right here, How to Recognize False Prophets and False Teachers. I wrote this book based on, I was sitting in a Bible class and I was listening to the pastor, the instructor, and one of the ministers asked the question, how do you recognize false prophets? And immediately scriptures started coming to mind, and I started writing them down. I'm writing them down because I've read the Bible, and it's not just, I don't know book, chapter, and verse, but I know that it's there. And I started writing it down and looking it up. And days and weeks later, this book just popped, I said, let me put this together and let me publish it for other people that want to know how they can recognize false prophets, because we're living in a time now talking about false prophets. Everybody want to be a prophet. Everybody want to be a prophetess. Everybody. And a lot of them, they're not, they are definitely being used by Satan. They are not real prophets prophesying prosperity and so forth. That's not what the prophets of God did. Uh, and I tell those stories here in this book. And I've just given away probably, I don't know how many of these books I've given away since we've been doing Facebook Live, but we've given away quite a number of them. Amen. So this is one book that's going really fast, so if anybody would like a copy, we're making some remodification of it. And but if you give my information, if anybody want a copy, we're going to give away probably about 50 of these books for free once we get them reordered. And all they have to do is pay shipping and handling, and the book is theirs. I want to get those books in their hands. It's not about making money from it. I just want people to get the information.
Okay, and how would people actually get in touch with you for that?
Well, they can go to His Image Publishing, HISIMAGE publishing.com.
There's a wealth of information, and you have the publishing guide that's available. There's information on the website. So if people want to go to and find out how can they get started writing now, because maybe those who are listening today, somebody has a story to tell, somebody has information that they want to put out there, and they've been putting it off. And so no better time than now to just go ahead and start writing, as you suggested, start recording, however you need to do to get your story out there to help somebody. So I do appreciate you for taking your time today. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience before we end today?
Well, I just want people to know that it's not hard to write a book. All you have to do is have a story to tell. As I said, you don't have to be that literate. All you have to do is tell your story. There's some people right now that we're working with that want to write a book so bad, tell their stories. And I know this one brother has a testimony, man. He's been healed of AIDS. He tried to commit suicide 10 times and God wouldn't let him die. When he was telling me the story, I was cracking up. I was dying. See, he said he jumped off a building, a 10-story, 4-story building, I believe. And he woke up in the hospital with 2 broken ankles.
Wow.
He didn't kill himself by jumping off a building. So he said he tried to hang himself, put a rope around his neck. He kicked the chair from underneath him. He said he woke up 2 hours later. He was still hanging by his neck. And he was so glad that he realized when he woke up that he didn't want to die. So he was struggling trying to get that chair back under him so he could take the rope off because there was nobody there. But it was hilarious. I told him I would help him get his book written because he does have a story to tell, especially how he was healed of AIDS. And, AIDS were taking people out of here. But he was on the cover of the San Jose Mercury, showing his full-blown AIDS and showing him without AIDS, his doctor's reports. So people like that, we want to help them get published. You can publish your book, publish your ideas, your visions, your dreams. Or some you just have a message to tell. You just might want to leave a family legacy. Write about your family. Write about your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, and get it so you can pass it on to your children. There's one lady, we did a children book for her before. She said, Pastor Young, I want to do it before I die. So I got my daughter, who's an excellent illustrator. Matter of fact, she's really good in watercolors, and she was able to get her children book completed before she died. She was able to hold it in her hand, and what an accomplishment it was for her. And so I love to see things like that. So if you got a book in you, you need to work on it. Don't procrastinate. Don't wait any longer. Get in touch with us and we'll help you get started.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and you have a blessed night. Thank you.
Thank you for asking me. Thankful to be a part of it.
Again, thank you, James, for joining us for another episode today and sharing how your voice is truly making a difference and how you're impacting our world through that of book publishing and helping to get other people's voices out there through publishing their books as well as your own. Thank you for sharing through your books, The Power of Forgiveness, as well as Me, Myself, and I. And then the book that you talked about, how to recognize false prophets and false teachers. For those who are interested in getting your own copy of that, or maybe you'd like to have your very own book published, go ahead and see the information on the screen below. Thank you again for joining us for another episode of Your Voice Matters with Nancy Young. And until next time, remember, your voice matters. If you have something positive to share and you would like your voice to be highlighted on Your Voice Matters with Nancy Young, please contact me at yvmwithnancy@gmail.com. And if you've enjoyed this programming, please hit the subscribe button right now. Thank you.